Hey, Nation. This is a special interview with a friend of the family from a long time ago, Gavin, who I believe you were the co-founder or founder of Enable. And welcome back.
Thanks very much, Harry. It's been a long time, and I'm excited to be back.
Yeah. I wanted to integrate you with the SMB Nation community. Again, it's been some time. When was that acquisition? Was that 10 years ago? I know it was several years ago.
2013.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll tell a little joke and then we'll have you introduce your colleague and talk about your new venture. But back when I talked to you at that time, you said you were built for leisure and you were headed out on your sailboat. I believe you did so. And what was that, one or two transatlantic sails? Why are you back? Did you get bored?
Well, so the funny thing was, after Enable, I actually did a venture with my eldest daughter in the digital marketing world, and I was chairman and advisor, and her sole investor, and she built it up to a large multinational company in 5 years, and then we sold it to a very large PE firm, and at the tender age of 30, she and her family are set for life. So we had fun. And after that, I started thinking, okay, well, between sailing and having fun, I like to stay mentally stimulated. And I was looking for the next venture. And Derik and I started talking because Derik has actually done one of the transatlantics with me and sailed to Bermuda and sailed to the Carolinas. So we have lots of time to chat on those sails. And we were actually just leaving on a sailing trip Maine to the Bahamas, and we started discussing this business opportunity last October, and we nailed it, and we started it. And Derik was our first employee at Enable, our VP of Marketing and Business Development, and first in the company and first in our hearts. And so I'm thrilled to be doing this venture with Derik, and thrilled to be back in the MSP space.
Great, Derik. Nice to meet you. So Derik, let's cut to the chase. Augmentt, and I'm looking at the website over on screen number 2, and it looks like a single pane of glass management console. I'm gonna hand off to you. What is Augmentt?
Sure. So when we, to take off on where Gavin left off, when we sold Enable to SolarWinds, we always had this vision that as we, looked at the RMM space and the changing landscape, we saw that there was a real sort of adoption from, traditional infrastructure, hardware, software, to move towards cloud and SaaS. And we always felt that the RMM solutions were really uniquely positioned to be able to extend what managed services meant and to start taking on a lot more of that SaaS administration piece. So extending from physical hardware, software, services into SaaS and cloud. So when Gavin and I started talking again, we looked at the landscape. We said, is this trend still truly happening? Which it was. The adoption of SaaS and cloud is exponentially sort of been adopted universally, small business right through. But the tools to help the MSPs capitalize on that, to build services business around SaaS and cloud, really wasn't there. So it was sort of our idea to be able to say, if we could create a management platform, a central, single pane of glass, as you mentioned, where an MSP can basically not only, look at their traditional infrastructure, but then now start to look at SaaS and cloud and build services on top of that, they would be uniquely positioned to take advantage of this market trend. And that's really the foundation of this. It was an evolution on the RMM space.
Question for you, because again, looking at your messaging over here, and I understand it's for MSPs, but it also seems like maybe it could be an internal tool for a large entity. And I'm not sure you're going after that market, and we're from the MSP community, but it looks like the actual functionality could also work in an enterprise. Is that a fair statement from a technical point of view?
Well, it is, Harry. You've really nailed it in that the solution itself, the way we've built it was with the MSP in mind. So,
Yeah.
it's got the multi-tenancy, but it is just as easily deployed by an MSP to its customers or within the confines of an organization themselves. So the flexibility is really part of what we would call sort of the secret sauce of what we're doing. The fact that it can be used by an MSP to build SaaS services revenue, and it can be used by a customer themselves to manage their own infrastructure. So you're absolutely right there.
And as I look at some of your messaging on the other screen, so first of all, you've just come to market. Congratulations. So let me recognize that. Harder than it looks. And so Shadow IT, I haven't heard that in a while, and I want to talk about that because a big theme over here at SMB Nation with our training, outreach, and curriculum, we have an academic lecture series like college.
Yep.
Spring quarter was remote work, right? Not a surprise. And we had 6 lectures, and it's all that. And then I've had, much like anyone listening, the occasion to see remote work, not only for myself but friends. I'm thinking of a friend in San Antonio, Texas. She is just a mere mortal, an employee, works at a call center for a large national bank doing the airline credit card thing.
Yep.
And boxes arrived one fine day in front of her door. Just boxes.
Yeah,
to
nice.
work, and that was it. Here's your boxes.
Right.
Put on the headset and get back to work. Call center. And Shadow IT, that's very interesting to me because her son had to set her up and this and that. I mean, there's a lot of these stories, and that's Shadow IT, right? I mean, and you guys help monitor and manage that space. Is that fair?
It is. Any employee that that is a sort of a knowledge worker or uses the internet to be able to perform a task, they are very often as an employee tempted to use the various tools that are out there to help themselves and help make their tasks simpler. The reality is it is very easy for anybody to sign up to a free tool, start being productive, and that sort of sprawl, the amount of applications being used by organizations that is not in the central purview, that isn't known to the organization, all of that sort of usage is what we would consider to be that shadow IT. So the analogy I make is, if you think of an iceberg, above the waterline is what everybody knows, the Salesforce, the NetSuites, the QuickBooks, the stuff that's corporately approved. Everything below the waterline that an employee on his own decides that he is going to sign up to SurveyMonkey or to a Dropbox account. All of that is really that shadow IT, and that's really what organizations want to control, because the old adage is it doesn't take much for someone to get a MailChimp account, to take private data, customer data, put it in MailChimp. Yeah. And all of a sudden, you're exposing the organization to potential privacy issues, to potential compliance issues, without really knowing about it. So it's the control of everything that's being used that we're really trying to partner with the MSP and the customer to solve.
So that's Augmentt Discover, makes sense. Augmentt Optimize, spend tracking module. What's Augmentt Optimize?
Sure. So if Augmentt Discovery is being able to understand everything below the waterline, all of the apps being used that nobody knows about, Augmentt Optimize is all about the optimization of the licenses that you are paying for, that you are allocating to employees. Because again, the applications that are being corporately approved, it's important to track, is the usage going up? Is the usage going down? Are there licenses that are assigned to employees or contractors that are no longer with the organization? These types of optimization of what you're paying for and the license you are using, that's where a lot of the productivity gains and some of the cost savings can go in making sure that you have a very tight control over what you're paying, who's using it, and what's the trend. Because again, the beautiful thing with SaaS is everybody is super excited about getting a new SaaS application. And for the first few months, everybody's using it. But then you start seeing there's a drop-off rate. Certain departments stop using it, certain users never log in. And that's really where, as an MSP, you can go in and create that optimization and say, what, why don't we save you some money? Why don't we decrease the number of licenses? You guys are using duplicates technology. Why don't we stop using one, switch to the other?
Okay, and then so we've talked about Augmentt Discover, Augmentt Optimize here today, and then Augmentt Manage. So automation. What's Augmentt Manage? Eliminate time-consuming manual processes. Go.
Sure. So Augmentt Manage is really sort of that evolution where once you've discovered and you've optimized your licenses, there are a real series of administrative tasks that an MSP and a customer need to perform on an ongoing basis to make sure that they're managing their SaaS application, whether it's onboarding a user, offboarding a user, removing an application from a department, enforcing multi-factor authentication, pulling in reports, all of that administration that tends to fall on some poor IT guy in the organization, or more likely on the MSP. There really is not a lot of tools to help these guys be able to do that in an effective, centralized way. So Augmentt Manage really gives you that central single pane of glass to be able to do the administration, to do the management of those applications without necessarily having to log in over here and log in over there and do it this way over here and get the passwords over there. Everything is centralized, nice and tight, and try to automate as much of it as possible so that when you do say, I need to offboard Gavin from the marketing department, for example, you don't have to try to figure out, okay, well, what did he have access to? What should I take him off? Yes, that'd be a good thing, Gavin. But that's really about all about this.
Yeah, no, I get it, and we're going to keep tracking you. When Augmentt Manage coming soon, if you had to predict early 2021, do you have a sense of maybe when we would see that?
Yeah, by year end. So by year end, you're going to see Augmentt Manage out there. We're going to run it through our program and our partners and get some real good feedback there.
All right, and Gavin, I'll let you take us out. The reason I learned of this new startup that you have is during this time talking about remote work, although I've been doing that for a while, but somehow I just find myself with more time and I don't quite know how. Maybe it's just, not running around as much. So I'm spending more time on LinkedIn. And Gavin, I saw your feed on LinkedIn the other day where you were sharing this information. That got us together. Any final thoughts on the startup, on LinkedIn, the community? Welcome back, Gavin.
Thank you very much. It's exciting, and this is very much like the early days 20 years ago in 2000 when we were starting Enable, and there was no RMM for MSPs back then, and everything was chaotic and reactive in the service delivery model. And we fast forward 20 years, and IT has by and large moved to the cloud.
Oh yeah.
And there is no SaaS management application for MSPs. So it's fascinating to see this. And you've got companies like ServiceNow and Better Cloud that are doing extremely well in the enterprise, just growing at huge numbers. And there's just, like it was back in 2000, we had the same opportunity. The difference this time is that the customers have already gone to the cloud and they know they need to manage their SaaS applications and reduce costs. And for the MSP, the value proposition is so easy because they can now go to the customer for the first time ever in their lives and say, look, I can do this audit, and guess what? We're going to be able to save you money. And it's not a negative to the MSP because they're not getting that SaaS revenue by and large anyway. So we're giving the MSPs an opportunity to get in front of a whole new revenue stream and for the customer to save money and to be more secure. So it's truly a unique opportunity, and it's a win-win for the small and medium-sized business and for the MSP.
Put myself on mute. You'd think I know how to work remotely, and sometimes I forget. I was just starting to say there, but it keeps it real. All these, everything's so authentic now, right? Everybody has a TV studio in their home office now. The authenticity is amazing. I'll leave it at that, but we're going to keep tracking with you. So again, congratulations. And as I've said on a couple of recent interviews, and I really believe this, but companies that launch into economic downturns, call it a recession, can do very well, right? So Intel and UPS are the classic case studies of that. Because you learn to fly coach and not business class. You don't have a company car. You know what I mean? You learn how to run a business, and so I suspect you're gonna, Gavin. You certainly did well with Enable, and I think some other outside endeavors. So I wish you the best, Derik. Good to meet you. We're gonna keep tracking you, so we'll check in maybe next quarter.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Harry, thank you for having us. Good to see you again.